All right. So it looks like we are live. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Woodland Pools and to another Cardano Q&A live stream. So the past couple of weeks, we dug into some really technical stuff. And so we had to, so this week I thought what we would do is we would get caught up on,
All right.
perfect, that's
so it
working.
looks like we are
Fantastic. So this week, I want to make sure that we don't get too far behind on some of the news going on in the ecosystem. And we have a lot of different updates that I want to dive into today. So if you are joining us live, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have. In between the different topics here, we will get to any questions and anything that you guys share in the chat. If you're watching on the replay, I'm going to add chapters down below so you can jump to the different sections that you want to check out. So let's take a look at what we're going to look at today. This announcement just came out from the MuesliSwap team with their whole slippage thing. This just happened. I want to share it with you guys. adaHandle Personalization is about to come out, so I want to talk about that a little bit. Some updates on World Mobile going multi-chain. ADAMail, which just announced their product literally an hour ago, maybe. Some updates from COTI and Jeffen, their CEO. UnFrackit from DripDrops, kind of a cool project. It's been around for a while, but not everybody's necessarily familiar with it, so I wanted to bring it to your attention. Some updates from Eternl on their new release. And also, new HOSKY rug pools are being in the running potentially. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So the first thing that I wanted to look at here is this all kind of evolved really quickly in just the past like day or two. This issue here with MuesliSwap. So I'm trying to think where's the best place to maybe start with this. So as we all know, there's several different DEX options in the Cardano ecosystem. We have MinSwap, MuesliSwap, SundaySwap, Wing Riders. Not sure if I've forgotten any other big ones. I think those are all the main ones. And MuesliSwap was actually the first DEX to come out on Cardano. A lot of people think about SundaySwap first, but MuesliSwap was actually the very first one. But they just had what's called like an order book DEX, where basically there were some limitations to it that people found. Like it was some friction in the UI. So for example, like you had to fill exact amounts of orders. Like if I wanted to sell 100 World Mobile tokens and you wanted to buy 50, you could only just buy the exact 100. So there were some things like that they were working through early on. When SundaySwap came out, they were the first automated market maker DEX, but MuesliSwap was technically the first one. Now, one of the things that we've, I just saw this came in. What's going on, Paul? You need to make these earlier in the day. It's midnight for me. I need to go to bed. Yeah. You know, that's a good point. I've been thinking about for a while about finding a way to do this at a more reasonable time. Maybe what I'll do is like every other weekend I'll do it on like, or every other week I'll do it on like a Sunday or something. So that if I do it like Sunday at like noon here, it would only be like 7 p.m. for you over there. So good to see you, Paul. Always good to hear from you. Thanks for joining at midnight. Okay, so anyway, so let me get back to this whole thing that was going on with MuesliSwap. So anyway, so for those of you that are familiar, when you're on a DEX, there's a notion of what's called slippage tolerance. And so actually, you know what? We can like even take a look at, let's look at like MinSwap, for example. Here we go. So if we look at MinSwap and we launch their app, if I come here and I want to swap, let's say ADA for Min, and just go to swap here. Where is my, here we go. So here's the slippage tolerance. So basically, I don't know if I can make this any bigger. Yeah. So here's the slippage tolerance. So basically what this means is, I wonder if they have, here we go. Yeah. So the idea is that when you set, when you're going to swap between two different assets, the slippage tolerance is for the given price that is stated. So for example, if I want to spend 100 ADA to get some Min tokens, it's estimating that I'm going to get 1501 Min tokens, or actually a better way to look at this is if I did 1 ADA should get me 15.01 Min tokens, right? And we can see here the price impact. So let me take my little thing off here. So the price impact here of like when I do this thing, this is how much the amount that I'm asking would impact the total price based on how much liquidity is in this pool. So if either you're asking to swap a lot or there's not much liquidity, then basically you making that purchase can force the price of the market to actually shift. And so here's the impact that they're giving you an idea of your impact of trading 1 ADA for 15 min would be just a 0.01 price impact. So it's in green here because it's not really a problem. But let's say, for example, if I wanted to do like, here we go, yeah. See, so if I wanted to do like 100 million ADA, you can see here that the price impact would be like 78%. We see how it starts increasing and showing you that it would, it could affect the price by that much. Separately, here we have this notion of the slippage tolerance, where what it's saying is that when I'm swapping my, let's say, 1 ADA for my 15 min tokens, or my 100 ADA for my 1500 min tokens, if for some reason this, that's not what I wanted to do. If for some reason my 1 to 15 sort of price here slips by more than 0.5%, so what's 1% would be like 1.5. So if it slips by more than 0.75 min tokens, right? If the price of this slips by 0.75 min tokens, the transaction will be reverted and the transaction just won't happen. So now the thing is that some marketplaces offer this option of being able to change your slippage. And here with MinSwap, for example, they have this option for unlimited slippage, which here we have this big warning that pops up that says this, in order to get executed with any available price unlimited slippage, this can lead to an undesirable price because, for example, it can go where the price can slip from your 1 or 2 or 3% up to maybe, let's see here, up to 300%, for example, so 3 times more than you were planning on paying. So anyway, so this is sort of the concept of slippage, of how you can set how much more you're willing to let the price slip from the price that you were setting and still be okay with the result. So hopefully that's kind of clear on what slippage is. The problem that we were seeing with MuesliSwap is that people started noticing that when they set a given slippage on MuesliSwap, what they were finding was that when their transactions went through, and this all just came to light literally I think today, between today and yesterday, people were noticing that the amount that they were charged ended up always being the max slippage amount. So remember, here where I'm saying, if I'm saying that my slippage tolerance is, let's say, 1%, or let's say I set it at 4%, what I'm suggesting is that I'm okay with the price drifting up to 4%. Well, what people were noticing was on MuesliSwap that if they set it to like maybe 4%, that the slippage was always hitting that 4% every time, which seems strange. So there was some back and forth with the MuesliSwap team about if their slippage was working properly and what slippage meant. And there was even a Twitter space that happened a little bit earlier today. But this just came out probably about an hour ago, where they finally clarified what's going on and what they're going to do about it. And so I wanted to share this with you guys because if you have done trades on MuesliSwap in the past year, this has likely affected you. So let's take a look at this here. Important announcement. MuesliSwap transparency and user education are paramount, and they recognize they fell short in providing adequate clarity on the slippage feature within the MuesliSwap pool DEX protocol. So here is where the problem happened. The decentralized matchmaker setup allowed each matchmaker to fill the limit order and choose whether to return the additional slippage amount or retain the difference at their discretion. This is a problem, right? Because when you're saying that like you're okay with like up to a 4% slippage, you're saying, okay, well, if the price happens to drift in this direction, I'm okay with it being up to this amount. What you're not saying is that like, okay, the price drifts to a certain amount, I'm willing to still pay this amount and give the difference to the matchmaker. Like that's a problem. That I don't think is a thing that anybody that was interacting with this DEX ever thought that this is how this was working. So while this difference has been serving as an incentive for decentralized matchmakers, yeah, no kidding, right? Like, and thereby being an integral part of the order book protocol since the very beginning. So again, this has been going on for a while now. We understand that the term slippage has caused some misunderstanding among new users. Again, I'm not sure if it's a misunderstanding or if it's something that they were branding it differently. Sincerely regret not making this more clear and are dedicated to rectifying the situation. So that is a problem. That's not what slippage means to most people. And a lot of people were catching on to this and getting really upset about this. But credit where credit is due. Once this now has come out and people were having conversations about, okay, but let's make sure that we're all speaking the same language. What does slippage actually mean? To make amends, we'll be refunding affected users who encountered high slippage on MuesliSwap pools in the last 12 months from the project's funds. A thorough analysis of all trades will be conducted to assure fair refunds. It'll take up to 3 to 4 weeks. And basically, they're going to go and automatically refund you if you set a certain slippage tolerance and the actual price did not drift all the way to your slippage, but the difference was paid to the market maker anyway. That delta is going to be paid back to you automatically. They mentioned it here. It's going to be for everyone affected, and information will automatically be fetched from the chain, and it'll be done automatically. So kind of unfortunate to see MuesliSwap finding themselves in this situation. I am glad that this is sort of how it is resolving itself, but I wanted to make sure, this was not even originally on my plan of what to talk about for today, but I wanted to open with this and make sure that you're all aware of it, because if anybody has done any trades on MuesliSwap over the past year, you have likely been affected by this in some way if you changed any of the slippage variables at all. So wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the comments here. Suddy was our first one to join. Hooty hoo! Good to see you, CVD Suddy. One of our new regulars and a new person in our Telegram group as well. Oh, by the way, if you want to join our Telegram group, we were getting spammed with stuff, so we took it private. But in the description below is my handle on Telegram. Send me a message, and I will give you a link to join our Telegram group. Good afternoon. You made it on time this time. That's right, because last time you joined us like in the last 2 or 3 minutes before the live stream is over. So good to see you. Dizan Watimena. Finally here for a live video. Good to see you. Oh, cool. I was wondering, CVD, so you're from Oklahoma. Very good. I don't know if I've ever properly visited Oklahoma. That's one of the few states I've not been to. And so this is what caught my attention earlier. So Paul's saying we need to do these earlier. First time catching one live. Yeah, let's catch up soon. Let me know if you want to. Let's get together with Patty. I'll join you guys for a Cardano crack sometime soon. And like I said, I'll try and do an earlier one of these. Maybe I'll do, like I said, like at noon on a Sunday or something here, so it'll make it a more reasonable time for those in Europe to join. Yeah, very good. And Mark Byers, always joining us from Sydney. Happy Tuesday morning, Mark. Always good to see you, calling in from Australia. Okay, cool. So now that we are caught up on the comments, for everybody else that's joining us, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have, and we will get to those. And let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to cover. Is ADAHandle is finally coming out now with their personalization, which we talked about personalization a couple of times on the channel already. So I'm trying to think about the best way to go about this. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at this video. I think this will help sort of clarify what personalization is. And then an announcement they made with Lace and Eternl wallets. So if we take a look here, yeah, great. So I'm going to pause this in several different places. So we can already see, so the idea here is like if we remember how, I guess they don't show like the original ADAHandle. There we go. So remember how like ADAHandles have always looked, where it's just sort of this like sort of, you know, branded background with like just your logo or whatever. They see here right away, they show you some of the different backgrounds and things that you can do with your ADAHandle. And so personalization is about how you can now take your ADAHandle and change it to be personalized, to have sort of like the same way how you have like a profile picture or an avatar, to have that tied to your ADAHandle that you can take across different dApps. But it's actually a lot cooler than just that. Let's let this progress a little bit. So here they're showing their personalization page. So here you come to the ADAHandle personalization page. I don't think this is live yet, but you select the one that you want to personalize. So here, for example, they selected the personalization ADAHandle. We see them now going to here. No, perfect. This is what I wanted to show you guys. So here, you can add different URL links to your ADAHandle. So for example, people can then like visit your handle and have all your contact info. So for example, here, they're adding one for the Twitter. Here they're selecting their profile picture, a background. You can change the way that the actual text shows up. So personalization, they gave it like a little background there. And here's what I was saying. You can make a QR code. This is kind of cool. You can make a QR code and have that QR code that's in your ADAHandle linked to whatever you want. So again, if they just pulled up your ADAHandle on whatever page, they could scan your QR code and visit whatever site you'd like them to. Oh, here we go. The social links is what I wanted to show. So you can add like Twitter, Facebook, whatever else, enable that, check them off. And then we see that there's now linkable things you can click on your ADAHandle as well. And then they show now how it integrates into like the Lace wallet. So how you would have your standard looking ADAHandles, and then here this one that's been personalized. So right now, the idea is that you would have this inside of these wallets, but we can see how similar to like an avatar or a profile picture, how now once you have this personalized adaHandle, you can have it in different places. And also similarly too, like a lot of places have, I'm trying to think of somebody, here we go, perfect example. Let's look at Eternl's profile here. So if we look at Eternl, we see how Eternl is, okay, multi-platform for Light Wallet, blah, 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 and then they have this link tree for Eternl Wallet, right, with all this different stuff. So we could see how in the future, for example, if they wanted, Eternl could just do a link to their personalized Eternl adaHandle, and then when you're viewing their personalized adaHandle, they could have a QR code that you could scan with your phone to visit some site or do whatever else, all their social links to take you to all of the different sites. So you can see how this sort of all-in-one integrated thing that's tied to your wallet is something that we could very easily start using to pass around as a centralized way, like the way that they say it is like a way to represent yourself online in Web3. So really cool to see this coming out. Once this is fully live, what we'll do is, I think it's going to be fully live by next week, if I'm not mistaken. Once this is fully live, we'll do a walkthrough here. We'll do it live, and we'll personalize the Woodland Pools adaHandle, and that should be a fun thing that we can do together. So, yeah. Oh, and then of course, yeah, so that was showing Lace and an Eternl, how you can make that sort of like your icon and stuff like that. So the initial launch is going to be partnered with Lace and Eternl wallets, and let's go ahead and take a look at that announcement here. So Lace and Eternl present adaHandle personalization. So the other thing too, keep in mind, is that, so what we said before about adaHandle is that, like, the notion of the adaHandle standard itself is not necessarily, like, or really any standard, is not necessarily that interesting. What is interesting is the adoption of that standard so that it's used in lots of different places. And then once that convention is in place and it's adopted, then you can really start seeing the utility of it, because lots of people are adopting it, and you can really take full advantage of those different features or conventions or whatever else. So with that in mind, all major wallets already support adaHandle for sending transactions, but it's cool to see that now with personalizations right out the gate, Lace and Eternl Wallet are already going to support personalization in their wallets. So here they are saying they're beyond excited to announce the official collaboration with Lace and Eternl. The implementation of CIP-68 on Cardano handles will become a beacon for chain identity. So I guess it's worth mentioning, I think we've talked about before about CIP-68. I don't remember when was the last time we talked about it, but just a quick reminder on CIP-68. Traditional NFTs on Cardano are called CIPs. So CIP is a Cardano improvement proposal. These are the different improvement proposals that we see for any number of different things. CIP-25 is the original NFT standard for Cardano NFTs. And that was where you would publish an NFT on chain. It would have some metadata in it. That metadata is what defined the different attributes and traits and stuff like that. And that was tied to the NFT, and that was it. CIP-68 gives the ability that you can make the NFT dynamically change over time. Because remember, with a blockchain, one of the major features of it is that it's immutable. So once something's on the chain, it can't be changed. The way that CIP-68 NFTs work is there's actually two of them. There's the one that sits in your wallet, and that one's yours, and you can transfer it around to anywhere, and you have full ownership of it. But then there's a second NFT called a reference NFT, and that one stays with the project that minted it. And then that one can be updated to have different kinds of things. And so then when a different wallet like Lace or Eternl or any other dApp that is then starts adhering to the CIP-68 standard sees that you have the source NFT or the ownership NFT, they will then look for the corresponding reference NFT, and then from there know what other data they should pull in on how they show and represent your actual NFT that sits in your wallet. So all of this that we're seeing with personalization is all powered by CIP-68 stuff, because we can see that, for example, you had originally this CIP-25 type adaHandle that was just called personalization, and it had some basic metadata in it. Now, when you do personalization, your CIP-25 NFT will be converted to a CIP-68 NFT, and then because you'll have the what's the term for it? Your NFT, I forgot what it's called, but the ownership NFT will be sitting in your wallet, and then adaHandle will have the reference NFT held by them. When you come to their website and you do any of these updates and change your background, do wherever else, they update the reference NFT, and so then when it is being put into your Lace wallet or your Eternl wallet or wherever else, Lace sees that you have the ownership NFT. They look for the reference NFT that Eternl has, and that tells them how to represent your adaHandle on chain. So that's just generally speaking how CIP-68 NFTs work. There's a lot of other cool stuff you can do with them. Like you can think of it in immediate applications. You could do it for like leveling in a game. You could have an NFT that represents your character, and that you could pass it around to different wallets. And then as that character levels, the project would update the reference NFT for the leveling attributes, and then that would be reflected in your character. So it's a really cool new standard that was made by Barry Ailes when he had to port over the Space Buds stuff to the new artwork. But yeah, so this is all powered by that. So in any case, that was a good tangent on CIP-25 to CIP-68. But dApps will still be able to resolve handles of CIP-25. So if you have an old adaHandle, it'll still work, but you will not be able to provide users with a full personalized experience without CIP-68 resolution. So for that, if you want to take advantage of personalization, there'll basically be a remint that'll be burning your CIP-25 NFT, minting you a CIP-68 compliant NFT, and that's how this whole thing's going to work. Yeah, so we see here, handle personalization is a brimming feature that comes with so many new and exciting opportunities for dApps, wallets, NFT projects, PFP holders, and most of all, handle owners take advantage of. This is actually great here. There's some links here. If you aren't caught up yet on personalization, there's an intro to personalization article, and we covered this when it first came out in July. And this shows, is this the one that shows? No, hold on. I'll show you the other one. Then there's Personalization 101. This one we also covered when it came out. And it shows some of the stuff we were just talking about how to do some of this customization stuff and how you can do the different links or whatever else. And you can learn more about how that's all going to work. So then from there, they talk about how Eternl and Lace are going to be supporting these out of the gate. So yeah, really cool to see this coming out. Congratulations to the adaHandle team. Really nice to see this coming around. This was in Catalyst Fund 9, I think is where they first got some funding to make this happen. Personalization and subhandles are the two big things they have coming out, and it's cool to see personalization right around the corner. All right. Cool. So CBD just got home, watched the rest later. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. All right, cool. So that is adaHandle. I wanted to make sure we covered that. So with that, moving on, next thing that I wanted to take a look at is World Mobile. So World Mobile, we've talked about a lot on the channel. Here with Woodland Pools, we are going to run a World Mobile Earth node. Haven't decided what we're going to call it yet. I might just call it ASPEN again. I'm not sure. But in any case, we're going to run a World Mobile Earth node. We talk about World Mobile quite a bit. So this is an interesting announcement that came out that I kind of had mixed feelings about at first. World Mobile is excited to announce that the token, the World Mobile token, will be bridged to both BNB chain and Ethereum blockchains. Talking about their multi-chain strategy. And then we have this article where we can learn more. So if we take a look at that. Oh, that's not it. I thought I already had this open. Let's take a look. So if we take a look at that. Oh, we have an Earth node, baller. Yeah, agreed. It is pretty cool. Yeah, we reserved that Earth node, I don't know how long ago, but yeah, we've got an Earth node NFT, and when that goes to mainnet, we will be taking that live, and we will have a Woodland Pools Earth node. Again, I haven't decided on the name. I might just call it Aspen again, but yeah. So yeah, that should be a really cool time. But okay, so let's take a look at this. So World Mobile Token expands the ecosystem with BNB chain and Ethereum cross-chain bridges. So if the thought of a cross-chain bridge makes you a little nervous, I am right there with you. I'm not a huge fan of bridges because then you take something that's nice and secure, like your on-chain Cardano native assets that can't be taken from you, and then you're bridging into another ecosystem that's maybe not as secure, and they might get lost. And we've heard of lots of different losses happening on different bridges. But what I like about this one is let's take a look at sort of how this works out. And you'll see that it is actually, I think, a pretty good thing. So World Mobile has announced its intention to create cross-chain bridges with both BNB chain and Ethereum. These deployments will be a crucial component of the multi-chain strategy, which aims to expose more users to the swiftly expanding ecosystem. So here we go. By introducing World Mobile Token to existing users of BNB chain and Ethereum, they're enabling more people to participate in the sharing economy and share the rewards that it offers. So here's what I think is cool, because this initiative will boost liquidity for World Mobile Token, making it easier for users to efficiently enter and exit positions on both BNB chain and Ethereum. So that I think is actually pretty cool. Like chains in the past made me kind of nervous just because I am nervous leaving the secure, deterministic, in your wallet, never leaves sort of world of Cardano for another chain. But what I like about this is that this is kind of going the other direction. This is allowing BNB and Ethereum users to be able to buy Cardano World Mobile tokens via this chain. So that I'm actually pretty cool with, because it's like you basically, for those of us that have World Mobile tokens on Cardano, you just hold them, keep them in your wallet, do whatever you're going to do with them before, stake them to right now to the vault, and then in the future to a World Mobile Earth node. But the cool thing about this is that it allows then people from these other chains to also come in and using their Ethereum or BNB to be able to buy World Mobile tokens via this bridge. So I actually think this is actually pretty cool. So yeah, advancing multi-chain ambitions, working on inclusivity. I mean, so basically I just think this is a cool way where that whole notion of like, instead of everybody getting a different piece of the pie, the idea of growing the pie and letting more people come in to the ecosystem, to the World Mobile ecosystem, I think is a really cool idea. So, like I said, I was a little bit hesitant about this when I first heard about it, but I actually think it's actually pretty cool, a pretty cool opportunity, a way that we can bring people from these other ecosystems in to a project that's been making pretty big waves with some of the conversations that have been happening on Twitter about World Mobile. So I think it's actually really cool news. And with that too, I wanted to share this, and this is kind of along those lines about how World Mobile has been growing. So this is from Clover Nodes, who is also associated with the, where's it at here? Earthnode Alliance, I thought. Well, I don't know where his little thing went. But in any case, Clover Nodes here tweeted this out from Rick Middleton, who's one of the ambassadors for World Mobile. And I thought this is kind of a cool way to visualize this. World Mobile will quickly climb the list before we know it. And if we look at this this tweet from Rick Middleton here, World Mobile has 16.4 thousand users in the last 24 hours. And if we compare it to these other chains in terms of their users, we can see here that from Tron, BNB chain, Bitcoin, Solana, all these way up at the top, we see that World Mobile sits at like number 20 in terms of total users in the past 24 hours, right between Gnosis Chain and 0x. But I think it's kind of cool how, like, when you look at all these different layer 1s and some of these layer 2s, how World Mobile, that's not even like officially globally launched yet. This is just here in Zanzibar. We can actually see these little points here. You can actually see on World Mobile Scan. Why is that not working? Oh, is this down? Aw. This is the second time this has happened to me, where I go to show this on World Mobile Scan and it's not up. But in any case, if you go to wmtscan.io, you can actually see this in real time. And it's kind of cool to see that where this would sit in terms of usage with people using this right now in Zanzibar. So that was kind of cool. Artificial intelligence. Good afternoon. Always good to see you, Artificial. Cool. So let me get some water. With that, that is World Mobile. The next thing, this just came out. This just got announced. ADAMail. This is something that was being teased by Patrick and the Endmaker team and also the IMX team. And this just like an hour or two ago just got announced what ADAMail is going to be. They were kind of just teasing what the product is going to be. It's time. We're finally proud to finally announce ADAMail. And so here's the thing. They link to this blog and they have a whole thread. But let's take a look at the actual announcement. I thought this is really cool. So introducing ADAMail by IMX and Endmaker. And actually, I never knew how to pronounce this. And the very bottom of this, I finally realized I probably should have caught on earlier. But IMX and Endmaker, where your wallet is your inbox. So if we take it, let's take a look at sort of what is the value proposition here. Hold on, before we move on, let me take a look at this. Does Wormhole token get burned on Cardano when it gets bridged? No, it shouldn't. So the way that generally, I mean, I suppose it could, but I wouldn't imagine so in this case. Like the way that this would work for a bridge like this, and good to see you, by the way, 56 Hope Road, is that you would have your World Mobile tokens would get locked up in a contract, in a smart contract, and then the ones that are locked would be allowed to be minted on the other chain. So the only ones that you would ever mint, with the way, my understanding how most bridges work is that the source chain doesn't necessarily ever, the source chain doesn't necessarily ever burn the tokens. They just lock them up. The destination chain would mint and burn depending on how many are locked. So the way it would work is Let's say that let's say you on Ethereum wanted to buy some more World Mobile tokens, but use it with your Ethereum tokens and you want that to live as an ERC20 token. What you would do is, through the bridge, some ERC20 World Mobile tokens would be minted for you. And then, some World Mobile tokens on the Cardano side would be locked up. And then when you no longer wanted those Ethereum ones, those would get burned, and then the Cardano ones would get unlocked. That's my understanding of how this whole thing would work. But if I'm mistaken on that, and if you guys have more information on how that bridge is going to work from a technical standpoint, please let me know and link it, and I'd be happy to dig into it. We can have a nice technical deep dive on how that's going to work. But my understanding is it would just be a lockup and not a burn. So, and it's still 2 billion then. Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for joining. My understanding of it, like I said, I've not done a ton of research on the functionality of the chain or the bridge. My understanding, though, is that it would just be whatever the fixed supply is would just be that amount, and that's not going to change. It would just be like locked or released depending on what's minted and burned on the other chain. But like I said, if you guys come across some technicals on how that's going to work, please link it to me. Or if you're watching on the replay, there's some people that I know that are way more up to speed on World Mobile than I am these days. Drop it in the comments down below if you're watching on the replay, and then we can dig into it and have a nice technical deep dive on it one of these days. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look then at ADAMail. So this just came out. Let's look at the value proposition for what ADAMail is going to be. So hello, Cardano community. We are thrilled to announce the upcoming launch of the new product ADAMail, a collaborative project from IMX and NMaker. So here's what it does. The unique tool combines traditional email with Web3 utilities, allowing you to send an email to every Cardano wallet and to log into your email account simply by connecting your wallet. So if this sounds a little bit confusing, I'm a little bit confused by some of the details. But if we look at here some of these features, I think there's some really cool stuff that can come from this. So as we know right now in crypto, pretty much all communication happens over Twitter and Discord, right? Most of us interact with each other in real time when we're not in these streams. It's either on Twitter or in a Discord channel. ADAMail aims to revolutionize this by enabling direct communication with wallets. So imagine being able to send emails to all verified holders of a project. This is pretty cool. So think about, for example, if you look at like everyone that has an NFT for a certain project, being able to just email all of them just by policy ID, and they just get an ADAMail to their wallet. That'd be pretty cool. This opens up a whole new level of interaction and connection with the crypto community. So they're keeping some details of the pre-sale and all that stuff under wraps for now, but it's happening soon. So let's take a look at like what some of these features are, because this is where I think it starts getting like a lot clearer on the value proposition of what this can actually be. So we can see here, you can send emails to wallet addresses. So this is the most straightforward one. You can, with ADAMail, you can send an email directly to a wallet address, making communication more direct and efficient. So, for example, if I wanted to interact with a delegator of the ASPEN stake pool, I could just find their stake address and just send them a message directly without having to know anything about who that person actually is. Right? They don't need to do any kind of KYC. It would just be able to I'd be able to interact with them directly. And similarly, they could respond back to my ASPEN adaHandle wallet address as well. Here we go. Receive emails with your wallet. So for example, if they want to write me back, they can write me back to the adaHandle for the ASPEN stake pool. Your wallet isn't just for transactions anymore. With ADAMail, you can receive emails directly in your wallet. So then the idea is you connect your ADAMail to the email client of your choice. So SMTP, for those that aren't familiar, this is the messaging protocol used by all email clients. So Gmail, Yahoo, for those of you still on AOL, and even just when servers are doing low-level messages to each other over email protocols, they use SMTP. So your ADAMail that you do is going to send SMTP messages, and since all email providers in the world use this, that is how those messages are going to be sent. Access to your ADAMail via NFTs. ADAMail allows access to email via NFTs that are purchasable, integrating the existing world of NFTs with everyday communication over email that we all already do. Special email aliases. By purchasing this also implies adaHandle integration. Okay, so with that, here are some of the cool things. So here's some of like that. That's sort of like some of the basics, but here's what some of the stuff that I thought was really cool. So this is kind of like, okay, you hear about something like ADAMail, and you're like, okay, what does this do? If you didn't know anything else, you'd be like, okay, you could probably find some kind of way to go from an email to a wallet. So that's sort of like what I would consider sort of the basic stuff that you would expect. Here, some of the basic stuff that you expect. Here's where I think, though, it actually gets really cool. because that's not all. We're also planning out to roll additional features soon. This, I think, is really neat. And Charles has talked about this kind of stuff about tweets before, but I love this idea. Sign emails with your wallet. Imagine how cool this would be. You can verify the authenticity of your emails by signing them with your wallet. Imagine how cool it would be is like, let's say, for example, you're a supporter of a project, right? And we all like see all these spam things all the time and scams about giveaways or whatever else. But sometimes some projects really do have legitimate giveaways of things. Like in Book.io, they're constantly, like Ben and those guys are on the marketing side, are constantly giving away free books and stuff, right? So those are legitimate. Now imagine if you can get an email about a Book.io giveaway that comes straight to your email address, but you would know that it's a legitimate email from Book.io because they can sign it with the Book.io wallet, so that when that ADAMail comes in to your, to either to your email or to your wallet, it's got a signature that cryptographically proves that it's actually the Book.io team. So I think this is really cool. And I think that we've been missing an email for a long time. And actually, for those of you that are like a little bit more low level, this basically is what PGP was invented for. So PGP is sort of like a way of like signing and encrypting different like payloads of things. This is invented like 30 years ago for email, and it's a thing you could do today, but nobody uses it for email. But now with crypto, since we all have wallets and we all have the ability to sign things, it's just so much more user-friendly to be able to do that. So I think this is really, really cool. Connect a DID, a decentralized identifier, with email. So this is kind of neat. You can integrate your decentralized identifier with your email for a seamless experience. So for example, if you already have a DID set up, which these are slowly being rolled out, but if you already had a DID set up, right? And the nice thing about DIDs, decentralized identifiers, is that you only reveal however much information you want to reveal. You don't have to like reveal everything about yourself. But if you have like a decentralized identifier, which by the way, this all kind of rolls together nicely, because decentralized identifiers is where adaHandle is moving with personalization. The whole idea is that right now it's just like nice looking backgrounds and things, but the idea is that they eventually want to roll in decentralized identifiers and DIDs into your adaHandle so that your adaHandle can be your representation of an identity across different apps. And then you can see how both your adaHandle address and the identifiers associated with it can also be tied to your ADAMail email. Transactions via email. ADAMail will enable transactions via email, making it easier to send and receive funds. So you can send and receive to an email address that can then be tied to a wallet later. This is what I was saying before. Mass sending to holders of policy IDs. They don't use the example here, but like you could also do it for stake pools, right? So project owners can send emails to specific policy IDs. So like, for example, everybody that's part of an NFT project can get emails sent to everybody for that policy ID. Similarly, it would just be a small feature add to make it everybody delegated to a pool, and you can do it for communication. And then there's another thing I thought was really cool too, where you can have a decentralized signature solution where it's like, okay, listen, I want us to agree on this thing. You can send like an ADAMail email to somebody, then they can do like a signature of that payload and send it back to you. And so now we have this ability to like sign things and send them back to each other, all based on wallets and functioning over SMTP and using that as well and having an email track of all this stuff. So that's all pretty cool. Here's some different tiers that they will be releasing. So you can have your stake key at ADAMail is going to be in their base pass, and you get it for a year. The level 2 will be your stake key and then also whatever unique alias you want and have it for a year. And then there's going to be an adaHandle tier, which, it would be instead of your stake key, it would be your adaHandle at ADAMail. And so here's where I wanted to show here. So there's something where, like I said, it's kind of like embarrassing that it took me this long. We're also excited to hint at some benefits following this announcement. They're going to have like a logo and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing what I was saying about with DIDs. With ADAMail, you have flexibility to choose how you want to identify yourself when signing into your email in your mailbox. So this is cool. So like instead of having to provide all of your information, you can provide only as much as you want. You can opt to remain anonymous. So you could just say IMX, which by the way, that's the first time that I realized that their project name, IMX, literally refers to the fact that you can just identify yourself anonymously and say IMX and say nothing else about yourself. You can have X have some properties, and that could be, an identifier that you take around without having to then actually like show your personal information. You can do a DID with whatever's relevant, but not having to like disclose your personal information. So IMX, yeah, Mark Byers, took you a while to figure it out. Yeah, I literally just got it when I read this article. Or you can use your name or your adaHandle. So for example, I am NMaker, or fully verified KYC data. So really, really cool idea. There's a lot more details I think that we need to see in terms of how all of this stuff is actually going to work in terms of the integrations with email. And I'm curious about like, if they're using SMTP, can you go like from a wallet to an email address, like any email address? Does that email address have to be part of ADAMail? I don't imagine they would have to because SMTP is globally supported. So you should be able to go from this to any email. Similarly, I would imagine that any email should be able to send an email to ADAMail because it's all over SMTP. I think that some of the additional benefits would happen if you're going from an ADAMail to an ADAMail. That's where you can do some of these signatures and cool things like that over policy IDs. So I think the idea is you could probably do like Web3 to Web2, Web2 to Web3, or Web3 to Web3. And I think is like probably how it's going to go, but I want to hear some more about this to see sort of how that's all going to roll out. So yeah, really cool stuff going on with this announcement from ADAMail. This is emails for OG Book Club only. Yeah, exactly. So you could do exactly that. You could do for people that are like, not just people that are buyers of a specific book for Book.io, but you could have, for example, like a list of people that have Gutenberg Bibles. Actually, you could even take it one step further. Not even people that have gone through the full verification process in Discord of OG Book Club, because that's to a certain degree its own thing. But really the OG Book Club, like those that choose to go to Discord, that's one thing. But really the OG Book Club is who has a Gutenberg Bible. So here, instead of having to like people having to jump through some hoops on Discord to verify their wallet and all of that, you could have emails go straight to the OG Book Club just based on when you click send on that email, who actually has the Gutenberg Bible sitting in their wallet at that time. So that's exactly right. Pity it's a subscription type pricing instead of something like adaHandle's lifetime usage. Yeah, I think the reason why, however, this would need to have some kind of a subscription is because emails by their nature have storage requirements, right? So as you accumulate more and more emails with things in them, it has storage requirements and then it has to be paid by somebody. Whereas adaHandle, it's just an NFT that's minted and that's basically it. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but I do think it's fair and realistic. Stacy made it 3 weeks in a row. Hello again. Good to see you, Stacy. So Stacy, we were saying this in our Telegram group, is one of our like OGs who's been around for I want to say like over 2 years with us here on the channel with the stake pool. So really good to see you again, Stacy. Always a pleasure to have you on here. Honestly, great show. Hey, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Yeah, and then as we're kind of going through this, anybody else that's joining, feel free to say hello and let us know where you're joining from. One of my favorite things is sort of visualizing where people are joining from all around the world. Like, for example, CVD Study is here in the United States in Oklahoma, but a little bit earlier, we had Paul calling in at midnight from Ireland, and then the following morning, Mark Byers from Australia. So let us know, folks, where you're joining from. I think it's a lot of fun to see how global this whole thing is and how we're all chatting from all around the world. And actually, you know what? That would probably be a good time. Let me do this before I forget to stop and say a huge thank you and welcome to all of our newest delegators to the ASPEN stake pool. We truly appreciate your support, and we're so excited to be on this journey with you. Let's keep growing together. I say it every week, but it is just so cool to see all the different people that are joining us on this journey and are supporting the stake pool and the channel. And so, like, with that, I want to say, if you do appreciate the work that we do here on the channel and how we do these news updates and the technical deep dives and all that stuff, the best way you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool, and you can join one of our almost 1,200 delegators. We have all the way from big whales to tiny little fishies. Everybody is welcome. So come join us at the ASPEN stake pool. And once again, I want to say thank you so much to everybody that joined us this week. An absolute pleasure. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. So let's continue on. That was ADAMail. Let me get a drink of water, and then we'll take an update from COTI. So this is kind of a 2-for-1 update here with COTI Labs. Here's Shahaf Bar Geffen, their CEO. Looks like he's about to sneeze. The reason I wanted to do this update is with COTI, there's 2 updates here. One, he gives an update on Djed and sort of where Djed is and where that's going. But the other piece is he talks about COTI as a company. So for those not familiar, COTI Labs is the company that mints Djed, the algorithmic over-collateralized stablecoin, and its counterparty coin Shen. But additionally, the reason why we've been talking about COTI a little bit more lately is because I want to say in the Binance lawsuit, they were named by the SEC as one of the tokens that was the reason why they were coming after Binance. And so obviously, we all saw the news on Twitter about that judge who ruled that XRP was not this, that the tokens themselves for XRP were not a security. And so Shahab Barghefin made an update shortly after that about what that means for COTI. So let's take a look at the implications of that ruling for COTI, and then we'll take a look at some Djed updates. So let's get that update from him.
The first one was the ruling of a judge in the US with regards to the Ripple case versus the SEC. Now, a judge has ruled that XRP in itself is not a security. It's just code. Token is code. What can be a security, of course, is the actual investment contract, if that is the case, and so on and so forth. But a token in itself is not a security. Again, it's just code, which is different to, let's say, a stock, which in itself, by law, is security. But a token in itself is not a security. It can be sold in a scheme that makes it a security. But again, in itself, it's not. And this is a big win. This is a precedent in the US, and it's very important globally. And as Ripple's CEO mentioned, it's a big win for crypto. And obviously, we're looking into this.
Cool. So what he mentions there, I think, is that the big takeaway is that, as he mentioned, this is a really big distinction that came out in this case, where the judge ruled that the XRP token itself was not a security, but you could, put the token into certain bundled things that would function like one, but the token itself is not. So this is good implications both for COTI as a company, but then also for all of us in the broader Cardano ecosystem, similar implications for the ADA token on the Cardano blockchain, especially with how decentralized the Cardano blockchain is. But I wanted to point that out. This came out a couple of weeks ago, but I wanted to point it out because it was cool hearing from him directly, since they were named specifically in that Binance lawsuit. The other piece then was, let me zoom this back in so I can find this, and I'll zoom it back out again so you can see it better. Yeah. So the other piece I want to take a look at is Djed. So here's an update on Djed, their algorithmic stablecoin or over collateralized stablecoins, what they've been calling it now, and where that stands. Because what we've been seeing is during the bear market, the reserve ratio has dropped below 400%, so people can no longer mint additional Shen tokens. So he kind of goes into that. So let's do a quick update on Djed and Shen and where that's at.
So big things. Okay, what's happening in the COTI's world? First thing, we saw Djed. First of all, we saw a growth in the TVL on the platform and on DEXs. Overall, right now, the contract holds more than 41.5 million ADA.
And actually, before we continue on, I wanted to pause here and take a look at this. So for those that have not seen the Djed site, when you're minting and burning Djed, we can see here the reserve ratio here is at 348%. So these right now, I think this is not accurate of the actual state of the actual site. If you were to go right now, you would not, when it's below 400%, you would not be able to mint additional Shen. You can only mint additional Djed, or the other way around. I forget exactly how it goes, but the idea, the target is between 400 and 800% collateralized ratio. And if it's below 400%, then you can only do certain parts of it. And if it's over 800%, you can only do the other parts of it. So the fact that it was below 400, that's what it was. You cannot mint more Djed if it's below 400%. That's what it is. And the implications of that he'll get into in a second. But because you couldn't mint any more Djed, which is a stable coin pegged at $1, it created some interesting market conditions of what happens there. Some people on Twitter were saying, well, the fact that it's below 400% and you can't mint any more Djed, that means that the project is having problems. Or, like he's going to show, the fact that the price of Djed on third-party exchanges went over $1 means it's having some kind of problems. But he addresses this, but I wanted to show you sort of as a background what he's referring to here when he talks about minting and burning Djed, minting and burning Shen, and the reserve ratio. And this reserve ratio is the ratio of Shen to Djed. Because the idea is if Djed's going to be held at $1, and the whole idea is it's fixed at $1, then Shen can be a variable price coin, which its value can go up and down so that it can keep backing Djed at $1. So let's continue on here, but I wanted to give you guys some background on what we're looking at on this screen.
Which is quite a lot, and 41.5 million ADA. which is quite a lot, and it's an increase. We saw that due to the spike in ADA's price, the collateral ratio rose above 400, and people immediately used this opportunity because it created an arbitrage opportunities, and we'll get to arbitrage opportunities and what you can do about this in a second. But the second that happens, people have minted both Djed and Shen. Specifically, people minted 440,000 Djed and 315,000 Shen. Now, all these movements create fees, and these fees are collected, and it affects Shen price alongside ADA price. And as you should remember, when ADA price increases, so will Shen price, and where more activity happens in the protocol, so will fees be collected, increasing the equity, increasing the price of Shen. And that means that on July 10th, Shen's price was 28 cents. And on July 14th, it was 37 cents. It peaked at that point, and that means an increase of 31 point something % increase. So that's quite a lot for Shen. Now, what does it mean? And people have asked, hey, I see that on maybe CMC, on CoinGecko, Djed's price fluctuates around $1. Well, first of all, it can happen on centralized exchanges, on DEXs, because what affect the price there is it can be liquidity, slippage, etc., etc. However, you should know that at any given moment, including now, and since Djed was incepted, at any given moment, you could and still can redeem your Djed, burn it in the protocol, and get $1 worth of ADA. So the absolute reality is that in any given moment, Djed is $1. Now, if the price on a centralized exchange is more than $1, then you can use the Djed that you have, sell it on an exchange, and take profit as an arbitrage. That, of course, will lower the price gradually on centralized exchanges until it reaches $1. And the other way around, of course, if the price of Djed on centralized exchanges is below $1, you can do it the other way around. Bottom line, you can always use the platform to redeem Djed for $1 worth. And when price fluctuates, it creates an arbitrage opportunities. So take note of that. This is exactly what the protocol is meant to do. Djed never lost its peg. And even throughout the storm in crypto, Djed always kept a collateral ratio of at least 2x, and now it's I think it's around 3.5x, making it very, very over collateralized stablecoin.
Cool. So I wanted to show that because I thought that was a good breakdown from their CEO in terms of where we're at with Djed, what it means, and why some of these things were kind of confusing for folks when they were looking at something like Tap Tools and seeing that the price of Djed was worth over $1. That is not necessarily a bad thing. And the reason why, if you think about it, it makes sense, right? That if, let me see if I can get back here. There we go. If nobody can mint new Djed, right, exchanging their ADA for $1 worth of Djed, if nobody can mint anymore, but they still want to have that stable coin, and there's a limited supply of it because it's below the reserve ratio, then yeah, you might pay a premium to get it on an exchange. And so that's why it would be more than $1. But then similarly, but the flip side of that, however, is that because of the reserve ratio and the way that it works, if you did have a bunch of Djed and you wanted to swap it back out for your $1 worth of ADA, you could at any time still come to the site and then swap it back out for your $1 worth of ADA. So that was a good breakdown by Shahaf Bar Geffen, COTI CEO, and I wanted to get you guys caught up on both the implications of the Ripple case and what it means for COTI and for Cardano, and then also our updates here on Djed and Shen. All right, cool. So with that, the next thing I want to take a look at, this project's been around for a while, but I wanted to bring it to your attention if you haven't seen it before, especially for those that buy a lot of NFTs like books from Book.io and stuff like that. want to make sure that you are aware of this site that was originally a product created by Adam Dean, who we talk about a lot on the channel, and is now run and maintained by Drip Drops. He's obviously a member of the Drip Drops team. But this product called UnFrackit. UnFrackit is to modify and optimize your Cardano wallet so you get cheaper transactions and fewer errors, and also unlock your peak degeneracy. So let's take a look at what this actually does. So I'm going to connect to my Eternl wallet. And now the idea of UnFrackit, right, is that, so remember, I think in the past couple weeks we've been talking quite a bit about UTxOs and how UTxOs work. The thing about Cardano is that UTxOs, like a single UTxO, can have lots of stuff, right? It can have ADA, it can have fungible tokens like World Mobile tokens, it could have lots of different NFTs like books on Book.io or your adaHandle or whatever else. You can put all of these things onto a single UTxO, but there are limits, transaction size limits, when you're interacting on chain, of what the total size of a transaction can be, including all of the assets that reside across all of the UTxOs that you're using for a transaction. So the problem that sometimes people run into when they have a lot of NFTs in their wallets is that if your UTxOs get really highly cluttered with a bunch of NFTs and things, then you can have ADA that's tied into those UTxOs that doesn't necessarily have to be there. Because you know how some of you probably know that for Cardano native assets like either fungible tokens or NFTs, you have to have a minimum amount of ADA that also sits at that UTxO along with those different tokens. But the thing is that if you think about it, you're at a detriment if you have more than that ADA sitting at that UTxO, because it doesn't need to be there. You just need some minimum amount to be in the UTxO to hold all of your tokens. And then any more ADA that's there is really just ADA that's locked up for no reason that you would want to take out of that UTxO. So you have just your minimum with this stuff. And then take that ADA out of there, put it somewhere else in maybe like an ADA only UTxO that you can use for spending and buying things, right? That's one thing where you want to take the additional ADA off of after the minimum out of that UTxO. The other problem is that let's say you have a situation where, let's say you did have a bunch of ADA and a bunch of tokens, right? If let's say you have like a lot of tokens, let's say hundreds and hundreds of tokens across different projects and things like that. If you then try and just spend that UTxO just to use the ADA, for example, and then the idea is that, as we talked about a couple weeks ago, you would still get back in the change, you'd get back all of your tokens, right? You want to spend just the ADA portion. If you were to do that, then what happens is sometimes if the UTxO is big enough and there's other things happening in that transaction, you trying to consume that UTxO might hit the overall transaction limit on the Cardano blockchain, and the transaction might fail because the transaction that is attempted to be done is too large for the transaction size limits on the Cardano blockchain. So UnFrackit is a tool that Adam Dean put together that helps you to optimize your UTxOs so that you can do a lot of different things, like, for example, taking off the extra ADA that you don't need to be there on your UTxOs that have your tokens. The other thing too that you can do is, if you have one of these huge UTxOs with a bunch of tokens, split it into a bunch of different UTxOs so that they're easier to move around and cheaper to move around. And basically just kind of do some hygiene on your wallet if you have a lot of NFTs on your different UTxOs. So let's take a look at what some of these things are that we can do. So we have this option here. Let's see if I can zoom this in. Oh, cool. Yeah, that's actually a lot better. Okay, cool. So here's some different options. You kind of unfrack it, you connect your wallet, and then here's some options of things you can do. You can say, okay, let's isolate fungible tokens. So for example, you would place each fungible token by policy ID on its own UTxO. It's probably not necessary, but you could. Let's say, for example, if you have some World Mobile tokens and some NMaker tokens and some Sunday tokens, and you want each of them sitting on their own UTxOs, you could do that. You could do non-functional tokens, NFTs, grouped into separate policy ID specific UTxOs. This could decrease fees when you're interacting with marketplaces or staking platforms. Like if you have certain NFTs that you stake to a platform, you could, and you don't want to necessarily have, when you're moving around transactions in your wallet, you want that one UTxO with a certain whatever that you're staking to just kind of stay static. You can make it that all of those tokens are in one UTxO so that you can stake that and it never moves. And then you can, like, your churn in your wallet, you can have them with all the other UTxOs. This is kind of a cool one. If there's leftover ADA included in the transaction, greater than 100 ADA, they could subdivide the remaining balance into several different UTxOs with these different percentages, because this could help the wallet have multiple options when spending ADA, only on transactions to decrease fees and increase parallelism. So that's kind of cool where you can, like, Instead of having them to always spend your big UTXOs, you can break them up into smaller ones so that you can use them as needed for smaller transactions. And then here the idea is roll up the ADA only UTXO. So then when the whole thing gets rebalanced and they take the additional UTXO, the ADA off the additional UTXOs from the different tokens, you can then take all of the extra ADA that wasn't needed for the min UTXO ADA and roll it all into a resulting one. Do this to collect as many ADA only UTXOs as possible and lump them together, or subdivide them if we said to do that here. So we can see, for example, that on this wallet, I have, let me move myself back up here. We can see on this wallet, I have 47 UTXOs. There's 531 ADA and 107 different token policies with 331 different kinds of tokens in the wallet. So let's go ahead and unfrack my wallet and see what this looks like. Oh, if you want, you can support drip drops or add a tip to the team that put this together, and you can send them a tip. Let's go ahead and unfrack my wallet. I'm just going to show you what this would look like. So we can see here my transaction gets pulled up on Eternl. And this is kind of what I wanted to point out. We can see here, for example, in this UTXO, I've got these 2 Origin of Species books. That's the only 2 things that are there. But then I have 64 ADA also tied up in this UTXO that doesn't need to be there. Then I've got, for example, similarly, I had some other ones here. Here, for example, Dr. Doolittle has another 14 ADA that's tied up in that one. And so you see several examples like this, where you have more ADA than needs to be at these UTXOs. Tarzan has like 6. These books here have another 13. So what we'll see in the resulting side of the outputs is that now these are my functional tokens. We saw before that we wanted to collect those. These are some functional tokens. But now we see here for all of these groupings of NFTs, first of all, there is no single UTXO that's created that is massive and huge and hard to move around that would hit transaction size limits. But the second thing that we see as a result of this unfracking is that now each of these bundles of NFTs and different UTXOs now only has just the exact min ADA that's required for each of them. So this one, oops, didn't want to do that. Where did this go? Here. Oh no, it was, there it is. So we can see here that each of these now only has the min ADA required for that specific UTXO. And then when we did all of this and we took off that tiny little bit of ADA off of all of these, if I come here to the next page of my outputs, each of them again only have like a little bit more than 2 ADA. And then my result is now a nice clean ADA only UTXO with 91 ADA in it that I've been able to free up that I can use for purchases and things. And the important thing is that none of these UTXOs with tokens in it need to get touched for a purchase. I can just use the ADA that sits here. Because the other piece that I forgot to mention before is that if this 91 ADA, for example, was sitting at this UTXO, and I was going to use that to buy stuff, and I kept using the same UTXO over and over again. Well, I kept using these things, it would make a new UTXO, but then the resultant one, if I just keep using that over and over again, I'm paying more in transaction fees because I'm sending along these NFTs every single time. If I do something like this, I can have my NFTs just sit in UTXOs that don't get used very often, and I can do ADA-only transactions, which is going to be a lot cheaper. So that's a nice sort of cleanup that you can do there of your UTXOs that I wanted to show you guys, especially if you're buying a lot of books or other NFTs from the team at Drip Drops and Adam Dean with UnFrackit. Okay. How are we doing on time? Ooh, man. Long one today. So let's do a few more things here and we'll wrap it up. So next thing, Eternl Wallet released their new big, the great overhaul in preparation for their Eternl V2. I want to point out just some of the biggest changes that have happened. This here I've been waiting for a long time. Smart chaining or transaction chaining. This is something that Typhon Wallet has had for a while, but is now on Eternl, where you can submit multiple transactions back to back and they'll be chained together consecutively. I've been waiting on that for a long time. Peer-to-peer wallet connect, support for CIP-68 tokens. We talked a while about CIP-68 here before. An update to their sending UI. Yeah, so a lot of big changes to Eternl Wallet in this release. If you were using the release immediately after it happened, there were some issues that they had after the release. They took care of those, and then they had sort of this announcement that, hey, we've fixed all this stuff. Thank you for your patience. The Eternl team, like I said here, is just like a team of MVPs. These guys take what they do very seriously. We all have rev releases. I get how sometimes that can happen. But yeah, all in all, great release with lots of cool stuff that has sort of set them up to be able to roll out even cooler things in the future. So congrats to the Eternl team with the new release. I wanted to make sure to cover that for everyone. Oh, cool. Yeah. 56 Hope Road. Thanks for that. We're talking about UnFrackit here. Your wallet really needed that. Cool. Awesome. I'm really glad that helped. Yeah, I know I sort of dug into it in quite a bit of detail there, but I know that for some specific people, it's really going to help. So I wanted to make sure to point that out. So yeah, cool. All right. So now I think that home stretch here. I think this is the last big thing I want to cover. So now, as you all should be aware, as of a while ago now, ASPEN, the ASPEN stake pool, is now officially a rug pool for HOSKY token. Let me come here. We see here that now ASPEN is on the list of HOSKY token rug pools. We're looking to add one more pool to the rug pools for HOSKY token, and so HOSKY made this announcement that they are in a bit of a gherkin choosing the second 22nd pool, and it's being a real challenge. That's where you, all of you out there, delegators in the community, come in. Instead of having individual pools apply to be rug pools, HOSKY is inviting community members to submit testimonials for any pool that you're interested in seeing to join the rug pool community. And I guess, I want to hear your thoughts. So for 72 hours, HOSKY's DMs are open and ready for suggestions. So for anybody out in the community, if you have a preferred pool that you want to see be added to this list of HOSKY token rug pools where you can get additional HOSKY tokens and be part of this community, be sure to DM HOSKY within the next 72 hours. Some SPOs had applied before, but he's asking specifically for delegators to reach out. So these are the pools that are HOSKY token pools right now. There's us right there. But for any other pool that you want to see on here that has not been added to this list that you think would fit in well with the community and you want to see represented on here, send HOSKY a DM. And that is how they are going to make the consideration set for which one will be the next pool to be added as a HOSKY token rug pool. So with that is all of the news that I wanted to cover this week. And so, as always, if you guys appreciate the work that we do here and all of this stuff that we dig into, the best way you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. If I missed any updates here or there's anything, additional details you want to drop and let me know. For example, we were talking about how the bridging is going to work for World Mobile. Anything there that I might have missed or additional stuff you want me to look into, let me know in the comments down below. And yeah, if nothing else, then we will see you all next week. Have a good week, everybody. Bye.